Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans, and we have our Week 16 preview here with back to 4 games this weekend, which is nice, and not just the 3 games that we had from last week, with a third of the league on a bye week.
The interesting thing about this week, Carter, is there's a meaning for every game this week.
There definitely is, yeah.
Because those people that watched our recap video, at the end of it, I said there that I was going to give them a little tidbit. Mm-hmm. So, here's the little tidbit. If Edmonton beats Winnipeg and Calgary beats Saskatchewan, Edmonton jumps from 5th to 3rd, Calgary goes to 4th, Saskatchewan drops to 5th. Mm-hmm. If Hamilton beats Toronto, Winnipeg beats Winnipeg beats Edmonton, and Calgary beats Saskatchewan, Hamilton is 1 point back of the crossover in the West and 4 points back of Toronto for 3rd in the East.
Yeah.
Toronto could come within a point of 2nd with a win over Hamilton and an Ottawa loss to Montreal. Ottawa can clinch a playoff spot with a win over Montreal, and Winnipeg is 2 wins away from clinching a playoff spot, which is why all games matter this week.
And it's a big deal in the sense of, so Winnipeg is a bit fortunate in the situation that with this week, that even if they do lose this week, they will still be first in the West no matter what at the end of this week. However, by how much is the question, as if Winnipeg loses to Edmonton, they will fall to a 7-7 record, same as the BC Lions. They hold the tiebreaker against the Lions, so they'll keep first in the West, but then still very much within striking range of, Saskatchewan, if they're able to do well, and even Edmonton, now that they're really starting to come back into the fold, and the Lions, if they're able to get that consistency up. So lots of big stakes out in the West.
And is this the week where Saskatchewan ends their losing streak?
That's the question. That is the question, and we will get through. And
or do they just find another way to lose? As Carter likes to say.
Because here's the thing: if this was Calgary and Saskatchewan, just normal Calgary, normal Saskatchewan, I might have said yes. However, Calgary tied the Alouettes last week, so that changes things, which means that we should get started with the games this week, which starts us off in the East as the third and final game of the trilogy, the sequel of the sequel, if you say.
Of the Battle of Ontario, or Battle of the QEW.
The battle of the Greater Toronto area between the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Toronto Argonauts over in BMO Field. Rick.
And the funny thing is, Hamilton wins this. We're bringing out the brooms.
Bringing out the brooms because the Ballard Cup is already in the Ticats' possession, named after Mr. Harold Ballard, owner of the Hamilton Tiger Cats and Toronto Maple Leafs. Former, I should say. And they already have that, so it's one of those things where Ticats, when it comes
brooms
to the season,
bragging rights.
This is for bragging rights. However, in addition to just bragging rights, this is for somehow if they're able to claw themselves back into a playoff spot if they can, and it's possible. And so, all in all, I'm really curious to see how this goes, as we've seen a very, very inconsistent Toronto Argonauts, and the Ticats that had been very, very inconsistent for very long. However, 2 straight weeks of wins in good fashion against the Toronto Argonauts and against the Ottawa Redblacks. Is this Ticats team ready to just keep it pushing? They certainly
and also don't forget,
can they use it?
It's also the Chris Jones effect. Can't forget the Chris Jones
Chris
effect.
Jones has done a really, really good job with this defense. As it's one of those things for all the jokes we like to make about Chris Jones' time in Edmonton, all the failures that he had as a head coach, and just how he just really was not a good head coach. This guy defensively has done well as a defensive coordinator with the Ticats, and has been a massive step up over their former defensive coordinator in Mark Washington. And so he's finally been able to bring this talent together and actually use it to its fullest potential, I think.
In 3 games, we had 26 against, 28 against, and 21 against. No longer are we in the 30s.
Yeah.
Per game, we are now in the 20s.
I'm not going to lie, you probably still want to get that number down, but that's definitely improvement over what the status quo was before that, as it allowed at least Bo Levi Mitchell's really outrageous passing numbers to finally be enough to actually start winning some games. And that is big for Hamilton. And I'm not going to lie, this is not a game where it's funny. It can be easy to look at this and, Toronto being in a bit of a better spot standings-wise and, win over BC last week. But I would argue that BC team last week wasn't all that impressive. Not like that they don't have the capabilities over in BC, but a lot of the wounds that the Lions had last week were also self-inflicted. And so it was a mixture of the two, not to take all credit away from the Argonauts. I think if you're Polk, you want to have yourself another good game here for the receiving core there. And I think Chad Kelly having options is going to be really, really important when you're going against guys like Katsantonis, when you're going against guys like Jamal Peters. And so I think all in all, a big thing for the Argonauts, if they want to win this game, they're going to have to win this game on defense. And I think that defensive line that had been very, very good at the start of this year for the Toronto Argonauts, you'd hope to get that going and get that rolling on all cylinders. As Bo Levi Mitchell is a guy that's been able to make a lot of really darn good passes, a lot of long passes, and I think you want to get more pressure on him if you're going to try to win this game.
So this is going to be an interesting thing because you have one of the best offensive lines. I'm not saying the best. I'm saying one of the best offensive lines in Hamilton going up against a great defensive line who had 13 sacks in 2 games against BC.
Yep.
So our offensive line has their work cut out of them. Not only that, but Chad Kelly and Nathan Rourke have only played, 5 games each, roughly?
Yeah.
Both of them already have 12 sacks again.
They're the inconsistency twins.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but they still have.
I mean, neither of them. Hey, to be fair, I'm not saying bad. I'm saying inconsistent. As Rourke has had some great games, but then he's also had some abysmal games. Chad Kelly's had some great games. He's had some abysmal games. I'm not saying bad. I'm saying inconsistent. When they're at their best, they're really damn good. But when they're at their worst, they are just slugging it on. So, I'm not going to lie. I have my prediction for this week. I know what your prediction is.
So we're already going there? Okay, so what is...
Unless, is there anything else you want to cover? Because realistically, one other thing I will say for Toronto that will be huge is to try to kind of play like they did against BC in the regard of getting themselves into field goal range and allowing Haralahu to really do what he can, as I think this is one area where the Argonauts definitely hold the edge over the Ticats.
So
that kicking.
The one thing that I will mention, non-field mention, is how many Argo fans are going to be showing up to this game, because Ticat fans will be bringing 2 to 3 sections of fans to a Toronto game.
He's poking
so is this going to be
He's poking the bear.
No, but I'm not lying though. But
I know you're not lying. I know that.
No, but usually, not all the time. Sometimes our fans can be pretty loud than the Toronto fans. If we can somehow get back into Chad Kelly's mind again, like we did on Labor Day, hopefully we can put the fans out to sleep and have somewhat a better showing
Yeah.
than what we have had in the past.
So all in all, Rick, we need you to say it verbally, just because
Oh,
on
please.
record.
Do I really need to stutter?
Yes,
I'm going with my Ticats.
I know, but you got to say it. We need to have it in writing.
Have it in writing.
Yeah. And this week I'm actually going to be going with the Ticats as well. I think the Ticats have
Ooh.
been a little on the upswing. I've bet against them. I'm not going to lie. I think they had earned me betting against them. However, with their recent performance, I think they've earned me betting with them. And even though the Argos were able to win last week, there's a lot of pieces with the Argos I'm not that crazy impressed. So I will agree with you, Rick, here that I believe the Hamilton Tiger Cats will defeat the Toronto Argonauts. But just a few hours later, 2.5 hours after the start of that game, will be Saskatchewan taking on Calgary in McMahon Stadium. Now, we asked about if the Riders snap their losing streak here. And the answer is I don't know. As Calgary historically this year has been very good at home. Not exactly perfect, but very good. I mean, and then it was just this past week where in a home game, the Calgary Stampeders were able to stun the CFL with a tie against the Alouettes, where in a game that realistically a lot of people had thought that Calgary had no business being in that game. And the Riders have been, again, finding multiple ways to lose and just have dropped. They have been 0-6-1 in the past 7 games. And with back-to-back losses in Labor Day and in the Banjo Bowl, which are definitely 2 losses that really, really sting in Saskatchewan because Blue Bomber football, because those losses are to yours truly. The question is if the Riders are going to be able to finally bounce back in a way that they need to. I think the Riders are very lucky that they were able to have that hot start with Corey Mason. Not lucky in the sense of that they didn't earn it. They definitely did earn that start. They definitely played the way they needed to then. But lucky that they are still in 3rd place and that they haven't fallen more since then. But it's just crazy how Saskatchewan, after being up 6 wins, and with a team like Edmonton being down with 7 losses, we're now talking about how this week Saskatchewan could fall below Edmonton in terms of just depending on how these games go. So it is really crazy, a lot of the situations going into this. Trevor Harris, as of recent, has been decent. He's been roughly, I believe he's been around 66% in his passing, around roughly even with his touchdowns and interception ratio as of recent. Schaefer Baker is a talented receiver, but he can't be the only one carrying the flag here. And one problem that has haunted the Riders a little bit these past few weeks is just dropping balls. It's been a very similar problem to actually that Winnipeg had near the start of this year, with them just dropping the football left, right, and center. The only problem with Saskatchewan is that with Winnipeg, a lot of the guys dropping it, with the exception of Mr. Nicholas Dembski, was just rookies that were coming in trying to fill the holes of Kenny Lawler and Dalton Schoen, that were not those starting guys. But with Saskatchewan, the problem is that you have your veterans doing that. Whether it was Schaefer Baker, whether it was MLS, whether it was Joe was a bit of a rookie, so I'll give him a pass. But Johnson, Bain Jr., these guys have all had some drops. Sean Bain Jr. especially, he's had a few. And so if you're Saskatchewan, getting these guys to catch that ball and hold on to it, I think, is going to be very, very important. Overall, Saskatchewan in the kicking game has been decent with Brent Lothar. Overall, not too bad in that regard. I know a lot of people were mad about him missing that kick in Labor Day. It was a 60-yard kick. There's not a bunch of guys that can hit that. However, I will say, I know a guy. And then on the Stampeder side of things, we got to take a look at their performance last week and just what they were able to do. Jake Mayer finally not throwing 40 passes. He was able to have a solid game, just throwing 29 for 37 with 236 yards, gets himself a touchdown, no interceptions, and Jedrick Mills over 100 yards rushing. Calgary finally gets the rushing game that they've needed, and I think that could spell disaster if they use that correctly against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Rick, I'm going to finally let you hop in on this.
So, interesting numbers here. So, when it comes to West versus West, Saskatchewan and Calgary are both 2-4.
Yeah.
Whereas Saskatchewan has had 153 points for, 168 points against. Calgary has had 137
Yeah.
for and 182 against. But at the same
Yeah.
time, Calgary has a 4-2 record, tied for the best home record.
Yeah. And if I'm going to be
actually,
honest
no,
here,
because Ottawa has the best one. But besides that,
I'm going to make a prediction now. This game, the Saskatchewan Roughriders are going to find that they're going to have a real thorn in their side. And by thorn, I mean 3 thorns. And those 3 thorns are going to be Demario Houston, Micah Awe, Cameron Judge.
Oh.
I think they are going to be so problematic for Saskatchewan in this game. That is my prediction that I am making. I think that this linebacker core for Calgary has been quite excellent when needed, and I think they definitely have the capabilities to cause a lot of problems both in the rushing game and the passing game. And just having a very good two-way defense, I think, has been something that, when the Stampeders have had their successes, has been one of their strengths.
Also, there is some breaking news earlier. There was some breaking news earlier today or yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Saskatchewan has signed Raquel Armstead, the former running back.
Yes.
For
the Ottawa Redblacks.
The Red
He's
Blacks.
A leading rusher for the Ottawa Redblacks. Signs,
that means,
which is a very, very interesting situation as AJ Ouellette comes in, and it seems like he's kind of the poster boy. And then it doesn't.
But he must be out for the rest of the season.
Doesn't really get anywhere with the time he plays. He's not really able to generate much, and just a lot of time where he isn't, where he's dealing with injury. Frankie Hexon's been decent, but it seems that they think that Armstead is a bit of the answer here, and they're going to try getting going with that. And at the end of the day, Corey Mace has been able to put together some success on this Riders team, and I think they're going to try to get back to their winning ways.
I'm saying it's going to come down to quarterbacks and receiving this week. Paredes is going to outbeat Lothar. No
I think this will come down more to the receiving core than I think the quarterbacks. I think the quarterbacks will expect more of the same. The question is, does Saskatchewan start catching the balls? And I think also the passing defense will be really, really crucial for both teams.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think I've seen Jake Mayer throw more than 3 touchdowns either.
I don't think you need to. Especially if you have Dedrick Mills, if you have I'm calling it right now. We will see at least one defensive touchdown in this game. I think we will see a pick six somewhere, or a sack, fumble, recovery.
Do you think Super Mario has a return touchdown?
No. I think he'll do better, but no.
Not great.
You asked if I thought he would get a return touchdown. My answer is
no.
no.
Like a kick return or a punt return or
no. I think this year, realistically, after Julian Grant, Janarian Grant had a few earlier in the season, it seems like everyone's kind of tightened up their special teams downfield coverage a bit and have really done a much better job, not just protecting Janarian Grant, but just returners in general. So I'm going to say no. Shall we make our predictions, my friend?
We should. I'll let you go first this time.
My prediction is that the Calgary Stampeders are going to make Saskatchewan's pain continue. Calgary, I think, gets a win at home. Despite the fact that I don't know how the rest of that season goes, my gut is telling me that the Stamps might be able to do it. And so Calgary, really shake up the West.
Ottawa, Edmonton, BC, Calgary. So if Saskatchewan plays at Calgary, home to Ottawa, at Edmonton, home to BC, and at Calgary. So they have 4 games left. 5 games left. I would be even shocked if they went 3-2 for the rest of the season.
Calgary?
Like, the only way that they can finish above 500 is if they were to go, like, 4-1.
Yeah.
Like, they're not winning out all their games. Or whatever it is. But, yeah. I don't know. I just have this strange feeling that something's going to happen. And Saskatchewan's going to win this week. As much as I want Saskatchewan to lose for Ticats in the standings, I just think... I don't know. I just have this strange feeling.
Calgary at home. I got this feeling about it. I don't know. Something's telling me. Something is telling me. Shall we get on to the next one?
We shall get on to the next one.
Which will be the Saturday game, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers take...
Wait. You're wrong. We have a 3 p.m.
Sorry,
on Saturday, 2 p.m. Central.
Sorry.
Battle of Ottawa/Quebec, if you want to classify, since both.
The battle of Quebec and almost Quebec. And
yes.
So, between Montreal and Ottawa. Sorry, I had the games are mixed up on mine.
He jumped the gun, people. I know you're excited for the Bombers.
I'm excited about Blue Bomber football. Anyways, the Alouettes take on the Red Blacks in what is a very, very important game for the Red Blacks here, where they have an opportunity to clinch. And here's a crazy fun fact. If the Red Blacks win this game, they're only 2 points behind the Alouettes for first in the East. Now, again, keep in mind, Alouettes have some games in hand over the Red Blacks. But games in hand only matter if you win them. Which
they only matter and what's the saying? Handguns and hand grenades or whatever.
You're talking horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yeah, horseshoes and hand
grenades.
Close
enough only matters in horseshoes and hand grenades. Well, what I was saying was that games in hand only matter if you win them. Because it's like, oh yeah, we have games in hand, so we can win those games. Well, that's if you win them. You could also lose them, and they mean nothing. And they're not an advantage because you lost them.
So here's the deciding factor.
Yeah.
Both teams have played 13 games. Mm-hmm. Each team has won a game this year against the other. So this is the deciding factor game of the season series. Because where was I looking? I just had it up on my screen. Where? Oh, yeah. So week 3, Montreal beat Ottawa 47-21. And then later on in the year, it was... Montreal logo. No, I passed it. Because I know they've played, because they have 3 games. You can just go on while I look for this, because it's going to take me a moment.
Man, I'm trying to think about who like, I'm not going to lie. I am actually having the most difficult time with this game. As with the Alouettes, they're dealing with some key injuries in the receiving corps. Austin Mack out. Tyson Philpott out. Now, they've also shown that guys like Rambo, guys like Snead, guys like White Jr., guys like Speaker, guys like Julian Grant can come out of their shell and can just put on the performance that they need to drive it down the field and get it done. However, Cody Fajardo, as of recent, has been mid. I mean, if we're looking at it, he goes 92 for 26, not too bad, but just 204 passing yards, 7.8 yards on average, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, just okay. You know, again, the completion percentage was there, but the completion percentage only matters if you're actually pushing the ball down the field. And I just didn't see them doing enough of that in this past game against Calgary. Against Calgary. Again, like Calgary's not a great team. Calgary is not a, like, realistically, if we're talking about CFL teams in the top half of this league and in the bottom half of this league, Calgary is in the bottom half. They just are. I'm sorry, Stamps fans. That is just kind of the situation you're in. To be fair, you're also last in the West currently, so I also have a little bit of data to back that up. But you guys did play a good game last week, and to be fair, I picked you guys to win this week. But with the Alouettes having that much trouble beating what should be an inferior opponent is not a good look. It's not. And they only able to put up 19 points. Maltos goes 4 for 4 in this past game, but just not as much as I think you would ideally like. Now, with the Ottawa Redblacks, the big question is two things. Number one, can they not throw 3 picks this game? And number 2, can that defense play a bit better as you gave up 37 points to the friggin' Ticats? And so it seemed like both Ottawa and Montreal both had games where they either lost or tied what should have been an inferior opponent. No offense, Ticats.
Thanks. No pun intended.
Hey, you guys got the win. At the end of the day, that's what matters. My opinion doesn't matter. So, but the thing is that, like, I'm not really, like, there's neither team that, like, when I see them against each other, it's like, oh yeah, this team's on fire and this team's not, so I'm sold on such and such. I'm not really sold on either of these teams in terms of one clear favorite over the other here, so I really don't know.
So I was actually incorrect. They've only played once this year. Montreal beat them 47-21 in week 3.
Oh.
So this is game 2 in Ottawa because they play again in 3 weeks in Montreal on week 19 on Thanksgiving week.
I see.
Which is the same weekend that we have our trip.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I really. What do you got in this game, Rick? I've been rambling for a while.
I mean, I would like to know, fantasy-wise, who the receiver for Montreal is going to be this week. Because, I mean, it's on any given week.
Is it going to be Mr. Reggie White Jr.? Is that who it's going to be?
Also, don't forget, those who did not watch last week's game, Adarius Pickett left the game on crutches, so chances are he will not be playing this week.
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. Rick, I'm going to
say,
yeah,
Ottawa loses their first game at home this season, and Montreal's going to come out and take the series.
Oh, it's very possible. And to be honest, as much as a lot of me is really rooting for Ottawa here, there's one critical thing that to me is making me choose the Alouettes here, and it's
you want to see Ticats in the playoffs? Yes, Carter, I believe.
No. The thing is that you gave up 37 points to Hamilton. You gave up 37. Like, it's that Ottawa defense, which has been very, very good at times. Weren't good last week though. The Alouettes.
If you want to bring that up, Toronto gave up 31 points 2 weeks before.
Okay. Did I take Toronto this week? No, I didn't. So I didn't pick Toronto either. So I'm taking the Alouettes. I just the Red Blacks. I think that defense
and not
last
only
week really just didn't look the way it needed.
And not only that, but I think Montreal bounces back after that tie last week.
I think that's very possible. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think they could do that. And there's a lot of talent in that receiving core, even with those kind of top 2 that are gone. Which leaves us, Rick, with our final game of the week, where
the return of Trey Ford.
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers face off against the Edmonton Elks in a whose Ford is better matchup between Mr. Trey Ford and his brother Terrell Ford.
Focus.
Oh, that's like a killer, Rick. That's a killer.
F-150.
No. Ford Focus was the one. That's a killer. That's a killer
Thumbnail.
video title idea for Nolan Hockey Podcast.
There you go. Ford
Killer title.
Focus.
That would be something. And so, man, I'm very excited for this game. I am very excited.
I would like to know what the Ford parents have for this game. Are they going half jerseys?
Oh,
and
they gotta
jersey
go
half Winnipeg and half Edmonton? Do you go one parent wearing a Winnipeg and one parent winning?
Realistically, they either go half jerseys or they go no jerseys whatsoever or anything, like just wear normal ass clothes.
The interesting note is one brother going to pick off the other?
I hope so. Because if it does happen, it's Mr. Terrell Ford, who got 2 interceptions last game against the banjo picking winless and 7 Saskatchewan Roughriders. I'm sorry.
Keep in mind, this is the first of 2 home games.
Yes, where the
Elks
have their home game against Winnipeg, and then Winnipeg has their home game against Edmonton. And I think, as much as everyone's talking about the big opportunity this is for Edmonton to get themselves finally really back into the fold, this is a big opportunity for Winnipeg to shut that shit down and lock down the West. We just need 2 more wins in order to clinch a playoff spot, and then I would like us to clinch West, but, one at a time. One at a time.
Wouldn't that be funny if Ottawa loses this week to Montreal and then loses to Saskatchewan next week? You guys win.
No, it wouldn't be funny. I want Saskatchewan to lose. That's hilarious.
No, but hold on. So if you guys win your home and home against Montreal, Ottawa loses both their games. That means that you guys would clinch before Ottawa wins or clinches. If Ottawa wins, there's 2 East teams that clinch before West team clinches.
Yep. At the end of the day, I just want us to clinch, and we need 2 wins, so let's get one of ours this week. That's the way I look at it. And now, one thing I am curious about here, yes. AC Leonard over in Edmonton now. Will he be playing this game for the Elks?
Carter, you want to know what else?
What?
You have the Jake Dolagala show!
Jake Dolagala!
Oh, I can't do it as good as you.
He now plays with your Winnipeg Blue Bombers!
And Brian Scott. Can't forget good old
Brian Scott!
And
coming
I bet you there's probably going to be...
This was the right move with Strevler going down, bringing in Dolagala, as you wanted a guy who... Because you could have brought in Taylor Cornelius. That was an option that was floated around. For short yardage, it makes sense. No, for short yardage, Taylor Cornelius is a good option. For short yardage, he's a good option.
Just use your fullback, like the rest of us.
However, I would like a guy that is not just good for short yardage, but is good in the case that someone takes a headshot at Zach Collaros, because it seems like people are obsessing over that nowadays. And so I want a guy who is a competent backup, and Dolagala was a competent backup. Still a backup, very much a backup, but was competent as a backup. Good enough.
Am I not mistaken? Doesn't Edmonton have a player that did that to someone this year?
Do they? Oh, they might.
Wasn't it Miles Brown?
That's Saskatchewan.
Okay, so if it's...
Because Miles Brown injured 2 quarterbacks in 2 weeks. Or actually 3 quarterbacks.
Oh,
I can't remember.
You know who it was? No, it was Edmonton. But it was Niles Morgan that I was thinking of. The one that took out both Luther Kununavanu and Taylor Powell in the Hamilton game.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Well, stay safe, boys. Overall, though, I'm excited for this game.
And don't forget to check out Nolan Hockey Podcast for our live stream on Saturday.
Well, nope. Canadian Football Central is where the live
yeah.
stream is happening. The Nolan
What am
Hockey
I talking
Podcast, though, is where you can check out the post-game coverage, where I'll be talking about either a great Bombers victory or a bullshit Bombers defeat.
Which Ford do you pick?
My answer is Terrell. Terrell Ford. He's getting it done. He's getting it done. I'm going to tell you right now, Trey Ford, Terrell Ford. He's above. See? One's above the other. That's how it's happening. Mr. Terrell Ford's getting it done. Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Don't forget, I think Edmonton will have probably about 20 to 30,000 because their fandom is starting to pick up.
Larry Thompson's getting it going. So here's a question, Rick. Who are you picking?
I don't know. I want to say Edmonton. Only because you have the dual threat of Trey Ford. But then you have the defense of the Bombers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you. I know Claris can come in clutch sometimes, but Claris does not scream, we smoke every team.
We don't need to smoke it. Again, we don't need to smoke every team. We just need this right here. This right here, that's what we need. That's what we need. We need this. And I think we'll get it done. We go to Commonwealth.
I know you're going with Winnipeg.
Yep, you bet your ass I'm going with Winnipeg. You'll take.
I'm going with the other Ford and Trey.
It is what it is. I like Trey Ford too, though, so I understand that. And I think that was all the games. Is there anything else we got?
That is all the games. That is
a bit of a shorter one this week, but I think we got a lot in for the 36 minutes or whatever it was.
I just got to find out from security in Toronto if we can bring in brooms.
You guys are getting ahead of yourself. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Either way we lose, we still won the season series.
Fair enough. You do have that. And so make sure you guys stick around for Saturday, where we'll probably be streaming the Winnipeg-Edmonton game. I say probably. It's 99% chance that's happening. But
it all depends on Carter. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no, it all depends on my schedule. My schedule is all over the place. So, but if it is happening, I'll probably try to have at least something out in advance, just kind of as a bit of a heads up that we're doing that. So make sure you guys kind of stay tuned for around the channel around then. And yeah, peace, love, and positivity to all you wonderful people at home. And we will see you guys next time.